peeps? This is Art coming at you with another video. I want to talk about comic books in general, American comic books. And I was having this conversation at the comic book shop Wednesday, and I figured I'd talk about it today. About the lack of creativity going on in the comic industry right now. And how pretty much comics back in the day took risks. And I'm starting to see a growing trend for the past couple of years that I've been started back collecting these books, is that a lot of these books are playing it safe for the most part. There really hasn't been any gut-wrenching status quo changes. And I think that's because of Marvel 2015. We had the all new, all different era where they tried to replace the heroes, and it did not go over well with a lot of fans. And I think that's where it happened. I really do. I think that is where you start seeing, like, okay, we need to start playing it safe. We can't, like, go outside the box too much. And so some of these stories, especially, I mean, even in movies today, but especially in comics, some of these stories are just, like, really kind of playing it safe. And I say this because, I grew up in the 80s and the 90s. And a lot of the stories during those times were gut-wrenching. There were status quo changes. They delved deep into that character and that psyche. It was more psychological with some of the stories that are written back in the 80s and 90s. To where, as you read them now, it's just like, you don't go deep into these characters like that. It's just like, we did a story, that's it. It's not analyzing who this person truly is. And I think that's missing in comics right now. I mean, when you had classics like Dark Knight Returns, and hell, even the death of Superman, and the funeral for a friend, where it showed a world without Superman and how that affected the entire DC landscape, from villains to heroes. How you saw Batman didn't want to give up hope that Superman was still out there somewhere, and he didn't really die. And then you see it put his head down when he had to accept the fact that his friend is gone. That was powerful. That was extremely powerful. It's like, wow, Superman is gone. And the whole time before they came up with the reign of the Superman, when the Superman came out, they didn't publish another Superman book. So you actually thought, like, yo, are they really going to kill off Superman? That was gut-wrenching. That was changing. For them to actually plan that out. Genius, in fact. Probably helped crash the comic industry, but just alone that whole storyline, that whole planning in itself, from the death of this Man of Steel being killed by just a mindless monster, and then see a world without a Superman, was genius. That was a genius storytelling. And I don't think anyone could ever say that that wasn't genius. To see what the heroes go through, what they face, without having Superman there. That's the type of storytelling that we need nowadays in these American comic industry, because it's no secret that manga has been beating American comics lately. It's no secret. Yes, manga is in a lot of places that comics are not, because comics are mostly sold in specialty stores, your comic book shops. But that's where American comics fell short, because they got out of being in the car drugs, the Walgreens and the newsstands and stuff like that. And they're not in Walmart as much. I think at best you can get in Walmart or the grab bags. Because I remember cause they've been doing that. They're still doing that now in Walmart. I remember Walmart had grab bags. So that's where I got some of my issues of the Heroes Reborn back in the 90s. I got some of those issues, those number ones and number twos and stuff like that from them grab bags. And there's one in the toy section, by the way, and in the magazine section. So they put them in both places because they know where their kids are going to be. They don't do that anymore. It's just in the book section. But needs to say, um, yeah, it's those stories that were written that make you glad that you're a comic book fan, that you actually got to see this, see your character go through something, see like a very status quo changing, delve deep psychological thriller. Like, I think the last time that I actually read a story that made me excited to get the next issue, and it's going to be sad, but I think the last story that I actually read was actually World War Hulk. I think that series where Hulk is coming back to Earth from having his wife killed and wreaking havoc across Marvel, beating everybody. I mean, the first issue, you see him get to the moon and he's talking shit to Black Bolt. And Black Bolt just whispers, "Go away." And you see the Hulk being blown away. And then he gets up and says, "I did not come here to hear you whisper. I came here to hear you scream." And I was like, oh, shit. Hulk is mad. And then the next thing you see him grabbing Black Bolt up, battered and bloody. He said, "I'm coming for all you motherfuckers." I was like, oh shit. And all throughout the comic book, everybody's talking about like, yo, Hulk's even stronger than he was before. How can we stop them? The scene where his sister tried to stop him and he just pushed her down. And he didn't really try to hurt her, but he just let her know, like, don't get in my way. That was just the way. It's like, listen, we blood and all, but you will get this work. You will get this work. And that's why she looked at him and was like, oh, we are fucked. He is mad. He's never been this mad before. And man, that was such a great book. I'm telling you, like that was one of the greatest stories that kept me going back to the comic book shop and say, yo, I need to get the next issue. This is getting good. And I haven't had that before. Like, there have been other good ones. Like, I really enjoyed Flashpoint. I really did. I collected that and I got the trade. I really do enjoy Flashpoint. Flashpoint was real good. But I would have to say the one comic book that made me feel like that ever since then had to be World War Hulk. That was a story that I was like, yo, I was really into that. Really into that. But there have been other good stories that changed the status quo, like Batman and Damian. When Talia al Ghul shows Bruce that he has a son named Damian Wayne. Damian Wayne's a great character. I'm collecting Robin. Robin has been a pretty good series for me so far. Damian Wayne was a status-changing character that they changed, and they actually grew him to be a well-liked character. And to be perfectly honest with you, which this is something, a personal beef with me with DC, I still do not understand why they didn't continue on with the Super Sons. That could have been a great young teenager book for kids to get into comic books with a Robin and a Superboy. But then they aged up Jonathan Kent. I did not understand that whatsoever. That was your ticket to get younger readers into comic books by getting a Robin and a Superboy. And it was actually a pretty fun book. I was enjoying it. It was fun. It was a nice light read. You see their wacky little adventures, and it was cool. To me, that was a mistake for them to aging up Jonathan Kent. But that's just me. But needless to say, I think a lot of the stories out now, just to get back to the topic at hand, are playing it way too safe. They are. I think the X-Men Ball or X-Men Gala, which they're doing a gala too, that was way too safe. And it wasn't a good story. Let's just be honest. I collected it. I got the variants, but I didn't enjoy reading it. All in all, it's just like, I think I got it just because it was an X-Men book, but for the most part, I did not enjoy that. X-Men Gala, I did not enjoy it at all. It seemed like it was It was playing it safe, nothing changing. X of Swords, playing it safe, nothing extravagant with it. That's why I decided to cut back on my X-Men books, because if they're going to keep continuing to do these type of stories with these characters, there's no point in me collecting all this crap. So that's why I made a decision to cut back. I might get this book over here. I got Marauders this week, just to see if it's going to be any good. If the first or two issues don't wow me, I'm not collecting it again. X-Men Team Red is supposed to be coming out. It came out this week, 1 and 2. I give it like 3 issues. After that, I'm done. I'm not collecting it anymore. And I'm going to have to keep that status quo, because I'm tired of reading crap. I really am. I'm tired of reading it. And a lot of these books are just crap because they're just trying to play it safe. There's nothing earth-shattering. There's not a real good story. And I think it's just a lack of creativity with these writers now. I don't think these writers are very creative to think outside of themselves into who these characters are. I think a lot of these writers that they have working are trying to put themselves into these characters. And one thing that I noticed about when it comes to writers, especially writers back in the day, they try to figure out who the character is and write upon that. But these writers now are saying, how can I put myself into this character so I can write from myself? And I think that's the wrong approach when it comes to deal with writing comics. Because let's be honest with you, you can always write about yourself, but it's more interesting to try to figure out a way to try to figure out a character and who there is. And that requires work. That requires you actually understanding the character, his origins, his motivations, his interests. It's kind of like, back in the day when you read a character's profile, it used to tell you everything: blood type, their favorite food, all that stuff. Like everything about this character. It was like a blueprint of who this character was at its core. Like, a character might like ramen, but he dislikes some loud noises. Guess what? If someone puts out a loud noise in a comic book and then he hates that, it says don't do that, and if you read his profile, that makes you more connected to that character, because this is his groundwork, so to speak. And so if you're a good writer, you'll understand the character's groundwork, who that character is, and then write from that, instead of just writing based off what you think you know. And I think a lot of writers are missing that opportunity to actually try to understand the characters, and just, they're just going off of who they are instead of just going delve deep into the character itself. And it makes for bad storytelling. It really does, because a lot of these things that these characters do, you're like, okay, they would never do that. Like, let's just take the issue that the series that's coming out right now, like Devil's Reign. Because I'm not, like I said, I'm not a too big of a fan of Daredevil, but the guy who is at my comic shop, he was talking about Daredevil, and he was saying that how he didn't really like Elektra being Daredevil for the simple fact that she would never have done that based upon the comics that came out in the 80s. She would never have dressed up as Daredevil. She wouldn't. But guess what? You have a new writer up here who probably doesn't know the history of Elektra, and now it changes the character. Now, I've gotten some Elektra books. It seems okay, but just me knowing that, it makes it a disconnect to the character. And now they're bringing Elektra back, it seems like, from what I've seen in these previews and these books coming up, which is fine. They should bring it back. They should bring that character back, instead of her just being like the female Daredevil, the woman without fear, which is another video that I need to talk about, because it seems to be that there needs to be a female counterpart with the same name, and it's very confusing to people. So, but that's going to be another video for another time. But yeah, man, I mean, a lot of these, I wish to have better stories in comics. Better stories will equate to better sales. And better sales will make happier customers. And that's all I really want for the comic book industry. I want them to start understanding who these characters are, make better stories, and give people memories. Like I said, me going through the World War Hulk, I don't even have to go through it to tell you the stuff that was going on, because it gave me so many good memories of reading that book. I read it like a couple of times, and I got the trade and I put it away, and I just pick up the trades every now and then and just read it, and I'm just like, or pick out certain scenes that I liked and read those scenes. It was an amazing book. That was an extremely well done story. Extremely well done. And like I said, I have not gotten that feeling since then of a story. Was Fear itself didn't wow me. I was into a little bit in the Marvel Now, but then I stopped. Just like everybody else. There comes a point in time in comics, I think, where it just comes to a dry spell and you just stop for a couple years and you pick right back up. So that's what I did. Now I'm back into comics now, and hopefully I'm not getting burnt out, but it's just like I might need to start picking up some more indies to keep the juices flowing, so to speak, and just go from there. But overall, yeah, just make better stories. Go understand who these characters are and write for these characters. Don't actually just write these characters of what you think they are or what you feel they are. Actually know who these characters are at their core, at their very essence, because they were written a certain type of way, and that's who they are. And if you change that, it's going to put a bad taste in people's mouths. That's all I'm saying. Better stories, better characters, and you'll get better results. Anyway, that is it. This is Art, and I will catch you guys later. Deuces.